In this installation, we're going to be putting in an AT-V3 into a Ford F450. We're going to go over placement of the device, wiring installation, and completing the dash install. Let's get started. On an AT-V3, you will have 6 wires in the harness. The 3 wires will be your basic hookup. The red is your constant to battery source. Black is chassis ground or framework. And white is ignition source. It is a must that you hook up an ignition source. This performs a 10-second update when it's in motion. Now you will notice that there are 3 other wires. The white wire with the blue tracer is not used, so you can kick that out of the way. The green wire is actually an output source. You can use it as horn honk, unlock feature, or starter disable. The blue wire is classified as PTO or panic. That is used as an input. You can hook it to a switch, light bar, or anything else that you might have an idea for to hook up in your vehicle. Now the tools you're going to need is a computer safe test light. You want to make sure it's a computer safe test light that has a voltage meter. That way it doesn't interfere with anything like popping a code or an airbag in the vehicle. You want to be as safe as you can. A voltmeter, multimeter, some bits, star bits, torch bits, depending on your car. You never know what you're going to use. 7, 8, 10 millimeters. Those are the 3 sockets that you'll use. You might also use Ford radio keys, depending on the car and where you're placing it at. A hook tool, a screwdriver, a plastic pry tool. Make sure it's plastic so it doesn't mar the dash. Electrical tape, knife, crimpers, strippers, and a drill. Those should be all the tools that you'll need for the install. In this installation, this is a Ford F450. What we're going to go over is the placement of the device, wire connections, and running everything through the dash. On this, we're going to put the unit right here behind this panel, attach it to this air conditioning vent, and then we're going to make up our wire connections right here below the dash. We're going to go ahead and start with pulling this apart. That allows us access to the side of the dash. Now we'll go ahead and secure the device. The unit itself will go right in. It's big enough to fit right into that cavity. Now we'll run the wire through the dash. We'll pull off the bottom part below the steering column, pops off, and then we'll feed our power wire right through. So now that we're underneath the steering column, you can see there's 2 harnesses. This harness coming down that is wrapped in fabric tape. This is where we're going to find our power and our ignition source. Then we're going to ground it right here to chassis, which is metal structure going all the way across. Now as we peel back this tape, this is just fabric tape from the dealership, but it is pretty stiff, so we'll have to make sure that we can get it secured and out of the way. So just try to make some small incisions, and then you can get the wire off. Now that we have access to the wires, what we're looking for is a green wire with a red stripe, which is usually in the middle. And there's one right here. The wires are pretty tight together, so you just have to be careful getting the wire out. So now that we found it, we're going to use our test light. Test it for voltage. So we have 12.5 volts. We know that that's our constant. And now the next one, we're looking for a white wire with an orange stripe. And in these trucks, there's 3 of them. So we'll have to find out which one it is. So now we're going to put the key in the ignition, turn the key to on. This wire didn't have power with the key on, so we're going to go find another one. These wires are a little tight, so you just have to search for it. So we'll test this one. We have 12.1 volt with key on, 0 volts with key off. So there's our ignition source. So white with orange stripe, 1 of 3, so you'll have to test for the ignition. And then green wire with the red stripe. Now depending on the chassis model, other Fords like to run a blue with a red stripe. So you'll have to double check with your multimeter or test light which one they are. Now let's make up our connections. Now that we have found our connections and the terminations of the wires we need, we're going to go ahead and make up with our T-taps, our quick access. We'll do our 12 volt first. This is our 12 volt constant wire. Now we'll move over to our ignition source. Using the T-tap, we'll wrap it around that wire, squeeze it and give it a click. Now we can wire up our wire harness and make the connections. So we're going to start with our ignition, our white wire. Go ahead and get it connected. Make sure that it's secure. Next is our 12 volt constant. Okay, now let's terminate them to the harness. 12 volt constant to the green with red stripe. That's 12 volt constant on Ford. And now our white wire to the white with orange. That is our ignition. Now next, we're going to ground our black to chassis frame. And what we're looking for is metal structure of the dash or truck. Make sure it is not any kind of aluminum. Usually there's substructure on the bottom and top. So we're going to go ahead and mount it and secure it to the bottom right here on the dash. We're going to secure our ground wire with a zinc screw. That way it allows for an uncorroded ground. Make sure there's not any paint on the screw as well, because that will contaminate the connection. We're going to remove the 7mm. And now we can secure the ground to the frame of the vehicle. Make sure to put the 7mm back in. Now we can secure the excess wire and tape this up to look like factory. Now that we've completed the install, the unit's mounted in the dash, the power connections are made, we're going to finish up putting the dash back together. Once you've secured the installation and the completion of the dash panel, you're pretty much ready to go. If you have any questions, you can call our tech support line, 405-726-9900.